Ah! Oh no, exam! Oh no! Help! It looks like a C-style question. Explain why the parable of the sheep and goats is still important for Catholics. What does that mean? I need 3 paragraphs. I need to make sure I include a quote. I need to make sure I explain any key terms and give examples and explain. And I need to make sure I actually answer the question. Explain why this parable is still important for Catholics. I'm going to circle any important words like explain, which means it's a 6-mark question. So I need to spend about 6 minutes on it. Okay, any keywords in there? Yeah, parables in there. Any other important words that I need to make sure I'm looking at? Well, why is it important for Catholics? Why is it still important? That's important. So I just need to make sure I get those 3 paragraphs down, explain the parable, explain why it's important, try and connect with my keywords as much as possible, but I must keep an eye on that clock. Well, first of all, are there any keywords in there? Oh yes, parable. Parable. I need to write that down. That's going to be my first thing. Right, I need to stop and think. Doesn't matter if it's not perfect, but a parable is, it's a story, isn't it? Yep. Made up story. It's been made up by Jesus. I've got to get the word Jesus in there, I think. So it's a story made up by Jesus. What for? To entertain people? No. To teach us, to teach people, to teach Christians, to teach them important things like about the kingdom of God and forgiveness and judgment. And I clearly need to know, I need to show that I know this parable. So maybe I could try and write just a brief version of the parable and explain it a little bit. Okay, the parable of the sheep and goats. Oh, yeah. Oh, well, what kind of parable is it? Maybe I could start by saying that. Yeah, because there's 3 kinds, aren't there? What's this kingdom? No, what's this one? It's judgment. This is a judgment parable. I think that's a really good introduction to this sheep and goats parable. Okay, good. What actually happens in there? Well, it's going to take me ages to write out the whole story, so I'm going to try and summarize it. Jesus said that when he... Got to keep an eye on the time. I only have 5 or 6 minutes to do this one. Okay, when he comes again... What's he going to? He will. I need to talk about the actual sheep and goats, don't I? Yeah, of course. He will separate everyone like a farmer or a shepherd. Doesn't really matter. Like a shepherd, like someone. What did they do? Oh, what's it about? Come on, calm down. Shh, calm down. What do? They separate. Yes, they separate. That's the whole point of this. They're separating. They're judging people. He's separating the sheep on his right from the goats on his left. It's not really about animals, though, is it? So what's it about? I need to explain that. I need to show I understand why it's a judgment parable. Okay. What does he do? Yes, that's right. So to those on his right, let's call them the sheep. He invites them to heaven, doesn't he? Okay. Why? Oh, I must explain why. I've made a point. I need to explain why. Have I included a quote? I need to think about this as I write. I need to remember, I need to put something in speech marks that's a quote from a source of authority. So anything, doesn't have to be perfect, but anything that maybe Jesus said, roughly speaking, that's in this parable, I can put in speech marks. Any key bits? Here we go. Yeah, so fed the hungry, that's one of the corporal works of mercy. Oh, brilliant. I've remembered that, so maybe I could put that in speech marks as well. Yeah, great. So I've got 2 quotes, fed the hungry and corporal works of mercy. Because, yeah, the sheep on his right, they're going to heaven because they've fed the hungry. They've seen that Jesus is in their neighbour, in other people. And then, of course, to those on his left, the goats, he's going to send them to hell. Why? Because they have not fed the hungry and done all those things. I don't need to list them all, do I? No, surely I don't have time. No, I've shown that I understand it. And I need to make sure that I'm going to answer the question. Why is it important for Catholics today? I've not done that bit yet. But I'm not going to panic. I'm keeping it around the time. I've got maybe 2 minutes left. Okay, I've got the story down. Okay, so I'm going to try and summarise the parable now in just one sentence. I'm going to think about what it's for. What does it teach us? Remember, it's a judgment parable. Okay, so it's going to teach us about God being a judge. This teaches us. Here I'm explaining. I've made my point and I'm explaining. This teaches us that God will judge us. Okay, that's fine. Can I expand on that? Judge us how? On how we care for others. Okay, that's a good summary. Okay, I'm running out of time. It's really essential I make sure I answer the question. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to use the question words. Explain why the parable of the sheep and goats is still important for Catholics. I can change that into a sentence, can't I? Into an answer. The parable of the sheep and goats, or I can even just say this parable. This parable is important for Catholics because. This parable is important for Catholics because of the wonderful things it does. This parable is important for Catholics today. Okay, I've started to answer the question, but I need that because word. Because it, and then I can just repeat that summary really. It teaches Catholics that God will judge them. Okay, that God will judge them on how they how they care for one another. And it teaches them how to get to heaven as well, doesn't it? It shows them the way to get to heaven by giving an example. It gives Catholics examples of the corporal works of mercy, of practical things they can do to help each other. This parable is important for Catholics because it teaches them that God judges them, and it gives them practical examples of how to love thy neighbour. Hey, I can put that in speech marks because Jesus said that, didn't he? Let's give one quick example. I'm just running out of time now, but let's give an example. For example, Catholics should feed the hungry, or give clothes to the naked, or give to the poor and homeless. That's a good summary of it. And I've given an example from the text. I've done a quote. It gives them practical examples of how to love thy neighbour. I've put that in speech marks. That's a quote then. And then I've given an example. For example, Catholics should give to the poor and homeless. It's not my best handwriting. It's not perfect English. There's some problems with it, but I've got the information down, and I've even got 4 paragraphs really. I've got like an introductory one with a keyword, and I've got a sort of middle one that explains the second big paragraph. But I'm quite pleased with that. I've nearly done a whole page. That might be too much. But I feel happy with that answer. I have explained why this parable is important for Catholics. I think that could be a good answer. Maybe 5 or 6 marks. People should be wearing hats more. There should be more hat wearing. There should be.